strong with the Force you are, young Padawan.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Scevoli Tano Show, guys. Now, the Scevoli Tano crew's here, but we added a member for today. Tait Fletcher today is here with us. Talking all Mandalorian stuff, all Paz Vizsla. Like, he's amazing. I interviewed him. If you guys haven't watched my vlogs at the Rhode Island Comic-Con, go check that out now, because I do have a segment with Tait there, and we talk all Mandalorians. He roasted me about calling him Piz and stuff like that. It was just, it's just bad. It's just bad.
Any chance somebody gets nervous, I'm going to go ahead and focus on that a minute.
Definitely. I was super nervous. He's such an intimidating guy, but he's so sweet, like a teddy bear. He really is. But before we start this interview with Tait, please subscribe down below to the YouTube channel, The Scevoli Tano Show, for more fun unboxings, reactions, breakdowns, and Star Wars awesomeness, guys. So my first question to you, Tait, is what's it like in that armor? Like, how heavy is that armor on you?
Right. Yeah. It's, you know, when I'm performing, it's generally not. If I'm in motion, because I'm so into the task at hand. And so it kind of melts away and just is my body. That being the key, like when I first put it on, and mind you, it's all built to my body. It's like all measured to me. And so there's this kind of ergonomic accent that I really enjoy, because you're not butting into yourself a lot, but still you're mitigated in your movements. And so just to stand, I mean, to be around in it, you're not in motion all the time. And so it's heavier at the end of the day, a lot, than it is in the beginning of the day. It's like erosion, right? And so inside of that, you get stiff, and you just want to stay in motion. I mean, it's a strange thing, but I needed to be in the best shape out of any role that I've ever done, really. I mean, I've done a lot of different fight work and things like that, but this added another element of weight and intention to movement that I needed to be present to in order to exact the movements, because I have to talk to the suit. I have to be in what the suit allows that movement to be, and then still look strong in that movement and intentional. And so I think it came out really well, but it's like working with another entity that you got to kind of consider, you know.
Now one more. How heavy was that gun?
As heavy as everything else.
Wow.
I think I would say, I never had a scale, but I would say that they're equally weighted. The gun, the backpack, like if you were to take those all separately, they would all weigh the same. I would think they're all that heavy, and so that added to it too. You know, with the backpack on, if you're upright, if you're flying, it's not bad, but if it's upright, it's off your back like 18 inches.
Okay.
And so that adds like you've got to come forward with it. Now that you put the gun on the side, now you're back and you're to the side, and so you're just upright as you're fighting that. You got weights hanging from you, you know, and so it's just like, okay, yeah. Then you need help. Also, I need Rick, I need Carl, I need Emily, I need them to say, hey, well, how does this read? Because you're inside this thing and you don't really know what a head nod looks like. You don't know if that's too. Mm-hmm. You don't know. I mean, and so, you know, I'm in concert with the other folks that are on the set in order to get movement correct for what the camera needs.
Now, Delana, your question?
It's heavy.
Yeah. I was wondering how it was like initially, like putting on the suit for the first time and then walking onto set, and how that felt like being in Star Wars.
It's pretty phenomenal. You know, we've done 4 or 5 sittings of measurements and trying to fit the stuff out at Legacy Effects, which was a real treat just to be in their warehouse. I mean, these artists that are there that are building these creatures, and you know, the Shape of Water guy is there in his full regalia, and just the Modern Warfare guys are coming out of the ceiling with guns repelling, and there's Darth Vader, and I mean, it's like a museum in there. It's amazing, and so I'm kind of in awe about the whole process, you know. But the first time I went on set was as Alpha Trawler, a different character that opened up Mando, and it was incredible. It was the first time I'd walked into the volume being for any listeners, or it's like it's the next technology that has taken over the green screen. And so the green screen being, they're going to paint in the background of whatever monsters or whatever's happening, and you're going to interact with a little speck that's a dot on the green screen, and they'll paint around it, and hopefully the eye lines. And a lot of times we saw that didn't work out so well. Like the early 2000s when they first started doing stuff with green screen, there's problems as technology comes up. And I think that this isn't a green screen. It's LED screens that are up and that are 50 feet in the air and comprise the ceiling, and they're flawless, and you're inside a video game is what it feels like. When I was inside the bar in the opening scene of Mando, I could see out the door, and you could see them line up the volume and change the environment from inside the bar, which was a trip, you know?
Yeah.
When they start locking it in close to the time we're going to shoot, it all turns into this ice planet, and you can see it kind of start to line up with what our actual functional set was that we're walking on. And so there's scenes, I mean, it's crazy. And so then the gangway, the wooden plankway that walks out into the ice meets the volume, and you can't tell where one ends and one begins. And it was phenomenal. At that moment, I go, it's a little colder in here all of a sudden. It's like you're transformed into another place.
That's awesome.
That was the first experience on set. Well, that's just walking. I mean, there's so much magic in this world. It's like, that's all huge. I got to say that. But then to be on set and to have it be off of you, right? This is you and Mando, and you're carrying this until he comes in, and the whole thing. And it was phenomenal. That little scene that we put together, I thought was just great. And then to be able to speak Huttese in it, and and be the first voice that's heard in Star Wars on Disney Plus as their opening program that they've never even had a streaming net. I mean, all of it was wild to me. You know, the first time I heard about it was after we filmed it. This is jump back in time a little bit, but when it came out on the Super Bowl, right, and they aired the first 90 seconds of Mando as Disney Plus is advertising their new business, which is this online streaming, right? And they never had a show on it. And so this 90 seconds is that, and I'm an argument at the time, and I'm not looking at my phone, and a half hour later goes by, and I look, and I'm like, oh my God. And people are going, you're on halftime right now. Like I'm watching you on, like, this is great. And so anyway, I started going, this is huge. That's when I knew how big it was. I think you don't really have a scope of it till then, except you go, that's expensive advertising. This is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And when I came out on set with As Heavy, it was wild, because I walk out and I'd never before been met by, here's all the Disney executives. Here's all the people that are doing marketing and toys. You're going to go and take pictures of poses for all the toys here next. And that was dope. That was really fun to do. And then I walked on set. And to walk on set into that little cave where the forge is, and where Emily and Din and I are going to have our first little hello. Phenomenal. Just the setting, the texture of it. The way they would pump smoke in, just the atmosphere, it was amazing. The technicians that are on that set, from carpenters to grips to, top to bottom, is just like you're looking at excellence. And so I'm kind of in awe the whole time of everything. And I'm in that state already, and I'm in this big suit. So it doesn't wrong. And then Emily walks in, and I'm just like, it was jaw-dropping. I mean, the kind of femininity and the kind of control and power that she owned and all the gold and the fur. And I was like, this is amazing, man. And then, I get to, play this character. I don't know how long the character goes. So I get to play this character that is like, I'm going to brace the lead guy, which is the character that I'm used to. I'm used to the guy that fights the main. They're like, who's the gnarliest looking bad guy we can get to fight Denzel or whatever, right? And I'm in that spot. Well, so this is kind of the similar thing to me in that way. And I, grabbed by the helmet. I'm like, you're not about this life or whatever the thing is, right? And then it goes on and on and on. And he holds this space for the arc of this series through Boba Fett and through Mando to season 3. And I'm really proud of the work. And it became something that I couldn't imagine that it was going to become, as far as like how important the role was to me, how proud I was of it, because it becomes a thing. I don't think about it at the time. I mean, it becomes a passing thought of like, I hope I do this. Whenever I take a job, I always think, I hope that my employer is happy that it was me. I hope they got the right guy. I hope they feel they got the right guy. I hope I did it justice. I want to produce for them. I want to give them something special. And in the Star Wars world, it's bigger than that because the fan base is so important and is so vitally part of the conversation of the creation of these universes, right? It's a real another like silent entity that's there that everybody feels. And I had at the end of it all, I just was able to say to people when they're like, "Thank you for representing Paz so well" and all that. And all I could say, is thank you. I'm glad I carried it well. I'm glad you feel like I did because I thought I did, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have that result and that character, his strength, his integrity, what he stood for, and that he holds the line with his humanity for what he feels is right for his people. I just thought it was a splendid arc, and to be able to play that guy, I mean, I'm really honored.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I talk too much.
No, it's great.
Awesome news. So Tait, my question is, how was the process like when you applied to play this character in Star Wars as the Alpha? You're the first, like you mentioned, you're the first, one of the first faces, one of the first voices, and then how did that transition to playing Paz Vizsla?
Well, I got the call to go in, right? So generally how I get work is by word of mouth. And so there's these in-between spaces where that, for the era that I came into film and have been doing that were like, if you're athletic and you can do the bit and then you can act as well, if you have for whatever reason you read well on film or what, like those are assets. And so in the stunt world, there's a lot of guys that don't act that are fantastic movers, and I can do everything all right. You know what I mean? And I'm big, and so guys are like, who are the big guys that can act, that can move? Who are our action performers that are out there in the world? And so my name gets thrown in, thankfully, and I guess, through my previous work, it's like my name gets thrown in, they say, maybe this guy, maybe that guy. And so that's how a lot of my work comes, is through stunt coordinators and second unit directors that have had a relationship with me or know of me in some way. And I get thrown in at an audition with a bunch of other guys that I know because we're in the same auditions together a lot, right? This kind of lane of performer. And I go in there and I bang it. And, you never know how well you do in there. But for this guy, the guy that I read for, he was like excited. And normally they're kind of dead faced. They're like, thanks. See you next time. And that's all you know. You don't know if you have no idea what it is. And so, and a friend of mine gave me great advice a while ago. One of the guys that got me into the film business, Darren Prescott. And he's a great second unit director, stuntman, all that. And I came out of an audition once, and I go, he says, well, how was it? I don't know, but I don't know what they want. And he goes, Tait, they don't know what they want. So you go in and you give them you, because that's all you've got to give anyway. And go be that. Don't get lost into trying to give something that you're not, right? And inside of that's a lot of power, because you've got a confidence in that you're expressing instead of trying to be something that somebody else wants you to be. It's like being the little kid on the schoolyard that's new and seeing, 4 or 5 friends that are talking, going, God, I wish I could be with those kids. And maybe if I had the right shoes on or whatever. And then you go over and talk to the kids trying to be fit in. And all they know is that you're weird because you're not being authentic. You're like, it's like that nervousness sets your energy off. Mm-hmm. So like, how do you create a place where you curate an energy around you, where the field that you own, that is your spot, is nourished in a way where you feel comfortable and confident regardless. And that kind of becomes part of the job of life, I think, in a bigger way. A lot of these smaller things that are fit for acting are also ways that we grow and self-develop as humans. We're questioning and we're looking back at ourselves. So there's all that goes into it. I kind of got lost in the answer.
To go back, it's like how you're doing great, by the way. It's like how did you how was the process?
Get the part? Yeah.
And then how did that transition to Paz?
Yeah. So I'm in there and I get the call and they say they like you, and I go, well, that's great. And because the only other way that I know whether I got the job or not is if I see another guy doing the job that's not me, right? I go,
Yeah.
that job. That's how you find out, right? So I get the job, and then a couple days later, I get a call, and they go, Jon Favreau saw your audition, and he really liked it. He likes you for this other part. And I figure I lost Alpha Trawler, and I'm cool. I don't, I'm here for a job, and I don't know what it is. And it's not until I say yes, and then I get the next email that I go, oh, you're working for Lucasfilms right now. This is likely Star. This is wow, okay. And so I get that idea, and I get a date to go out and meet Legacy Effects and get measured by them and do the whole rigmarole of building the suit. And then I find out that I'm playing both roles, right? And I go, oh, dope. And then my acting coach, he says, Garrett Dillahunt, you know him? I go, yeah, he's a buddy of mine. And he goes, he's the only other guy I know that they kill and then they bring back in another episode or whatever. And he did that in Deadwood. He played two characters. They killed him off. He was a repugnant asshole in the whole he killed off at the end of it. And then he comes on as this really horrible, dastardly guy in the next. But I was like, what a cool opportunity. And so I go in and, I do my first bit. And then when I come out for a Paz, and that's why too, there's a lot of controversy that'll probably come up about the voice and who voices Paz. Like, for me, Paz, it's, I hear that when I talked to Favreau later, I saw him right after we did the premiere. And so I saw him downstairs. I was on my way to the bathroom, and he's chatting up 1,000 people. And he goes, hey, because I didn't know at that time, because I go in and I do the whole bit. We're performing the scene just like I would any other scene. But what happens in post, I don't know about. And so they mechanize and change the voice, and John does a voiceover. And much because I'm the voice in the first episode, and 2 episodes later, and also he wanted to play Paz, I believe. There's a lot of reasons. It just kind of dovetailed into the perfect thing in that way. And I don't know what happened in the last season. I mean, people say, oh, it's your voice now. And I don't know if that's true or not. It's mechanized to a point I don't distinguish what it is. All I know is I was real proud to go in and play all those parts, especially that part when we go in and I turn everybody, first they're following me and I'm like, yeah, why would we follow this guy? And because we're Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And all that piece, man, it was some of the most beautiful bits of acting I've ever gotten to do. And to get the response from the guys, all the background that's there that I'm preaching to, and to get the response of the crew after, they're like, you do stage acting? Are you like, and it was just dope. It was something like I never, because I don't get to play that much as an actor. I'm the action guy that comes in and says, you better look out, motherfucker. Oh shit, here it comes. The thing is, and then it's a wrap, right? And so this was like, to be able to play inside those arcs that I've been practicing in was really a dream, and to be able to do that in front of directors and producers and people that I admire and respect in the film business is like doing an audition in front of people every day. It's like, go there, be as excellent as you can be, and that's how you get the next job. So it's not the SAG award from Breaking Bad. It's not that I got to play heavy. It's who you are when you show up to work every day. How do you comport yourself? You want the next job, you want the trick. That's it, man. Go be as helpful and as useful as you can, and that's kind of, I can't. A lot of folks are like, oh, how did you, get into start? Like, I can tell you how I can't tell you how to do that. I could tell you how to be a UFC fighter easier. I could say, here's the process to go by. But what I believe is that it's the same in a way, is that if you follow a dream of like, I want to perform in film, and you don't know what unfolds. You can't know. All you can do is do the thing in front of you as well as you can and try to service that thing to your utmost honor, and think about what that is. Think about things like your ideals and your honor matter to you. What would I let get in the way of that? If I'm saying my health is the best thing in my life, am I eating like shit and am I smoking cigarettes? What's true? Do I have actualized values around where I want to go with my life? Everybody wants to be successful. I hear guys all the time talk about it. But then I hear, I was talking to a guy last night. I went to go see a friend of mine who was bartending, had a hamburger at the bar, and there's a dude I know from around town. And he's, got a beer and a cocktail, a Manhattan in front of him, and he's buzzed up or whatever. But he's talking about all the things he wants to do. He says, yeah, and I don't drink very much as often as I did because I get hungover and then I miss the whole next day. I go, I don't know anybody that's successful that does that robs themselves of a day where they make themselves ill the day before, where they're useless also. I just don't know people that do that way. So a lot of us want success, we think, but it's like, am I willing to do the footwork? Am I willing to eat life bitterly for a while without high fructose corn syrup so that I can actually build character a little bit? Or what is it I'm willing to sacrifice for this thing? Because if I want that new life, it's going to take my whole old life because I'm going to have to put all my focus here. And so what does that look like? And how are my thoughts and my actions supporting that thing that I say I love? That's how I keep myself in check, I guess, with it, And with acting, with performing, with all that, it was like with fighting. There's a lot of guys that would come into the gym and they go, I want to be a fighter, because they see George St. Pierre under the lights or whatever, but they see stars and they go, wow, that looks great. I love attention, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go, oh, you're here every day, whether your toes are broken, whether your ribs are bruised, you regardless, you're here. Like, I don't know that I want to do that. And it's like, do you love the thing that you're doing, or do you want to be called that thing for some egocentric reason? Do I want to put myself under the harshness of life and see if I can develop myself? Or do I just want to say that I am that? And it's the difference between reading a book and walking a road, I think, and being a participant or being a spectator. And so if I could give any advice to anybody, which I don't have any, I've just got the history of my road and what I've done, but it would be, get in the game, be in the conversation. You want to be a filmmaker? Cool. Get your iPhone and go film your friends every day. Look at angles. Look at how to edit. Like, there's ways that we can develop now that we just couldn't do even 20 years ago, where we all can do that. You can create. And when you create, you have agency. You own yourself. You're not working somebody else's project. You're into creation. And the more I see people in the Star Wars universe that are so talented as artists, I just can't say that enough. I mean, anytime I get an audience in front of me, I want to say that, because I'm so excited by the artwork that I see by the goddamn fan base of Star Wars that I'm like, this, and you're a clerk at Walgreens? Let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's incredible what's out there. The first year when they didn't make a Grogu doll, I looked out, people would tag me. And then you see the macrame ones, you see paper mache ones, you see them made out of denim. You see all the fans' expressions of what this is before corporatocracy and that whole demographic of that monstrous machine that comes on us and dictates what we view, decides what our creativity is. That didn't happen in that first season, and that was cool. And that, I was like, that's special. I'm going to hang on to that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I really go off.
No, that really speaks to me, like, because I'm an artist and I will hopefully in the future would like to go to school to do film makeup and stuff too. So when I really want to start getting on all of that too, I'm really starting to push myself, because I do hold myself back a lot. So
me too. I say that not talking shit. I say that going, the guy next to me is not the problem, that is my competition. The audience isn't. I'm what I got to get out of the way of. I have to get me out of the way of me in order to be fresh in the world enough to be seen. It's like my own obstacles that I put up. It's not anything else. Knowing that is the first trick. When I know I'm the issue, well, shit, if I'm the issue, then maybe I can get around. If you're the issue, I got to wait till you change. But that's not true. The truth is that it's me, that I got to contend with me, get out of the way of me, do it anyway, regardless of how I feel. It's hard being a human, because I got this part in me, I think a lot of people do, that's not on my own side. I want to have all the cheesecake. I want to go ahead and get numb on the couch for a day. Like, all those things. It's like, but you've got to do contrary action. It's that idea of, if I had everything that I wanted, I would be happy. Well, that's insane. That's an insane person. Everything I want. I mean, it's like a little kid that has just all the affluence that he can take. That's an insane, you're going to ruin a person like that. That's not good. Right. And so I've got to look at it in a way that is like, what's actually fruitful for me is knowing I've got a part of my mind that's going to want cheesecake. And I got a part that really doesn't want to get in that ice bath. And I should probably do the thing I really don't want to do. And when I do that thing, other things line up with things that I don't want. Other things line up to support that nurturing. and I don't want the cheesecake anymore. And so if I can get into contrary action, I can get ahead of myself a lot, get out of my own way. And it takes practice. So if you fall back on it, don't beat yourself up about that. Man, it's what happens. It's human nature. But we just keep going forward. And I think that's why it's important to have loved ones like y'all have here that are around to support you, that are like a picket fence, that has similar ideals and know what your values and standards are so they can help hold you to them, so you can reach higher, because you can't reach as high by yourself. Most of us, we need help. And I love that about the universe too. It's amazing.
I really need Tait as like my Dr. Phil in my life. Like I just need him.
Oh, you're calling me fat. Okay. No, that's cool, bro. All the heavy jokes, that's enough. I'm an older guy. I got a couple of this. What it is.
I really need you just like my angel on my shoulder. Like just like, yeah, Chris, do it. There you go. Like I need that, Tait. I need that. I was going to ask that towards the end of the show too. Like any advice that you can give anybody out there if they want to do film, anything out there. You just answered that question. And that was
and the answer is short. It's way shorter than my all the hot air I blew. The answer is be in the conversation. Be where the conversation happens. And if you feel like, oh, I can't because I'm 15 and I can't move from St. Louis to California or whatever the thing is that you think, you can do it right where you're at. I mean, we're here having this conversation. You know what I mean? It's all right there. So just get in the conversation. And once you get in the conversation, you'll be adept at the glossary of terms of the conversation, and you'll become competent. And then other people that are in that conversation that are good or want to talk to you, and then it just goes like that. And that's just how it is. You can't avoid it. The only way you can avoid it is if you talk yourself out of it and go, oh, well, this isn't really paying off, and then you quit. Because the fact is that all these jobs that anybody can look at, they go, that's 1 in a million. Hey, listen, go work at the auto plant, because that's not safe. You should go for this shirt. You get benefits, and all that stuff's true. But everybody's got to deal with their own fear and their own ambition of what they want in life. And the one fact that I'll say to anybody, I won't say what to do one way or another, but I will say this, is that the reason it's 1,000,000 to 1 is because everybody quits. Everybody's soft. And if you just go, I'm resilient and I'm going to have a relentless pursuit of this because I love this thing. And whether it pays off or not, I don't care, because I'm getting skill acquisition and I'm getting better at this and I'm hanging around people I love. That's the way.
This is the way.
This is
Like going back to what you were saying, Tait, I think you have to believe in yourself. Like believe in yourself first before anybody else believes you. In the world, like even with friendships and everything, like I go through my ups and downs with those people too, but like no one believes that I could do that. No one believes in that. No one believes in me. But if I believe in myself, it will all make the wild, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's hard. It's tough for me in a way, because there's this thing where they say your feelings aren't facts and stuff like that, right? And you think about what that stuff means. My friend would argue with me and he'd say, well, your feelings are facts. They inform me of the world and that's valid. And I go, yeah, but there's a lot of things that have different meanings that seem like paradoxes, right? And my feelings about myself are what I need to look at. What's not true about me? That I'm a loser, that I'm never going to win, that I feel like, oh, I let somebody down and now I just let people down. Like there's all these things that would ring through my head for years, man. I never had any confidence, but I fought professionally anyway. I never had any confidence, but I got sober anyway. I never had any confidence, but I looked around and I go, I'm not great, but I'm better than that guy. I could do that. And I go, let's get in the conversation and try. Because regardless, you're already dead. It's all a wrap anyway. So what conversations do you want to be in before it's all over? And it became like that for me. And I wish what you're saying was true for me, but it wasn't. And so what I did is I misplaced a lot of that. And I go, I want, like I said earlier, I hope that my bosses, I hope John and Dave and Colin all were glad that it was me. I hope I did. And that's the same way I thought when I fought. I just want to carry my flag well for my coach. I want to represent my coach. And I'd always think in those terms, and I didn't, and that gave me the confidence, like I wanted to drive to do well for them, because I would do better for them than I would do for myself. And that's kind of a sad outlook, but that's my truth. the fact is your way is better, but not everybody's there. And so wherever you're coming from, it doesn't mean that you can't win, you know? It just doesn't. It doesn't mean that things need to be set up in this way or that way for it to be good for you. You know, when you're working towards your own passions, the whole universe conspires to help you. And it behooves me to believe that, because the other side is that the whole universe is against me. And that's a ridiculous weight on me that, again, I put on myself. I got to get out of my own way. So how am I disciplining my mind to think in a way that is measured and beneficial to me, instead of in morose self-pity, reflection of the past, fear of the future, or whatever, and just do the good work that's at hand right now. And so, yeah, so I think all of that is true. And I gain confidence as I go and all that. But I didn't start that way. I didn't, that thing about you can't love anybody till you love yourself. It wasn't until I went and started helping people. And, you know, I was in a place where it's like we'd get guys off the street and I would just help guys and sit next to the guy that just threw up. And it was like, when I could give love to people that were hopeless and that people had thrown away, well, at least I could get a little self-esteem, you know? And so I learned those things first. I learned backwards, you know, but like I said, the only takeaway from that story is that wherever you start doesn't mean that you can't win. You just got to start.
Definitely. I want Tait, I'm flying you out. You're coming to live with me for a week.
Right on.
Now, my next question, Tait, is what was your favorite scene in The Mandalorian?
Whoa.
That you filmed, of course.
Yeah. Well, to begin with is when I came down and in episode 3 and you know, come flying out of the air and all the other Mandos come in and we're in the middle of the street. And that's when it really dawned on me what kind of show I was in. Like, because I'm in a Boba Fett show. You know, I mean, we're in Boba Fett gear. It's like, because I grew up in that era. You know, that's who we're you know, so it's like, you asked me my first 3 favorites. Well, it's the first 3 shows. Like, those are the only Star Wars shows that set the mythology and the idealism and kind of these constructs that Star Wars gives us all. That's where I had my footing. And so for me, those were the best. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's, you know, all these, there's such rabbit holes to go down. It's such a huge topic. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I will ask about how you felt overall about your character's arc and about his death.
Yeah.
How you felt about how he went out.
I guess I'd say...
Did you want to go out the way you did on the show? Is that how you pictured this character going out, guns blazing?
I really would have liked to have killed a couple of those guys.
I know.
My brothers, I guess. I do really like, you know, there's the moments in there. You're like, what's the best part? And there's so many that it floods me. I mean, there's still shots in my mind, like when we're all walking away and I have the gun and it's straight up in the air and we're just walking into the sunset kind of over Mandalore. Like epic shots and the scenes, filming that last, you know, we shot a day later. We didn't finish. We had to add another day on that shoot of my death scene. And that was a crazy couple days. And emotional in a way that I hadn't expected. And then also one of my mentors, the day I'm dying, we're going through the scene. I'm doing it. Tom O'Connell was my stunt double on that day. We're back and forth. I scroll through his phone and I see that there's a guy that was one of the hugest assets to college athletes everywhere, really, in strength training. Everything was a dude out of Ohio, Westside Barbell, Louis Simmons, and a friend of mine and like a hero mentor type. And my death is happening, and I read about Louis' death on Instagram, and I'm instantly in tears, and the whole thing, and I'm tired, and the whole thing just, and I thought it's all right, and you know, everything just came back in right away. It was a big exhale, and everything was okay, and this is life. And there's a coming and going of energies, and what those energies leave is way more important, maybe even than the presence of them being here. and maybe that's Paz and Louis welcome him. And Louis will always be with me, and Paz will always be with all of us, I think, in that way. And I think the arc of the character, the part that I like the very most, is that everybody had feelings about me in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you bullying our hero? The show's named after him and all that, right? But I really enjoyed that Paz didn't change, but people fell in love with him. But his ideals and his standards and everything stayed the same. The way he even felt about Mando stayed the same. He wasn't mad at Mando. He was like, "You look like a fake ass rapper. Why don't you can you act right or what?" And he grabs him, right? He's like, what are you about, man? You don't have any lineage. You haven't bled with us. And that's what anybody from, you come into Jackson's gym, believe me, we're going to brace you. You're going to get tested. Are you strong enough to be here? Are you going to be an asset that's going to make my iron sharper? Or are you going to be a wine? What is it? What are we doing here? And so I was really familiar with that kind of gatekeeping. And I really brought that into that scene. And it made sense to me. I'm not even mad at you. It's just that I love this thing, this area that we've created so much that I need to protect it. And I need you to know how important it is. And that's what we would do with everybody that came in. And some became our best friends and some never came back again. And I think that's how Paz did it with Din and was just really an emissary of Emily. She's the one that sets the tone for what our standards are. She's the one that holds these ideals and these secrets. She's like, a witch, sage, mentor, matriarch of this and leading this very small group of survivors. And so that's who I was. I was her voice. I was her expression of we need to hold the line. What is our tradition? What is our standard? And the same thing when he tried to take the Darksaber, right? Mm-hmm. That whole thing isn't about Paz wanting to have the Darksaber. He just knows that it's in his bloodline, and he knows it's not in his. And so what's best for Mandalore? To have everything all separated, or to hold this back in? And does he need to step in and do something here? And so he does. And then that same thing holds true all the way up until that speech that I give. And that whole thing is, I think, what line he's holding is, and especially now with technology, how it is, and everything rushing in and AI, is Paz is going, yeah, all this is coming. Helmets are coming off. These guys have different ideals. Maybe change is inevitable. But what I want to do is I want to slow it down so we can see that if the changes that they're suggesting are sustainable, because the consequence is that my people die. And that's the line he's holding. And then when he makes that speech, he goes, this is important. This is important. Our unity is the thing that is the most important. And so let's vitally come together for that asset. And it was the same. He was the same, unchanged throughout the whole thing. And people came to deride him and then grew to pay attention and go, oh my God, look what he's left, right? And you understand, it's almost like the character never changed, but there's a big reveal because as a viewer, I change in the way I see him. And I thought that was one of the coolest parts of playing him.
Yeah, and we got to see kind of a softer side with him also with his son in that episode. So I liked that they threw that aspect in there too. That was beautiful.
And Wesley is so, when I met him the first morning, I met him and his dad, John, and what sweet people and just right away warm. You right away feel like, oh, this is natural. And we've never really been around each other. And it was really great. It was great. And then I see him around. Saw him in Atlanta in January on another show. And so I can't wait to see what happens for Ragnar. Ragnar is going places. Ragnar is going to, what's he going to do to avenge my name?
Yeah.
I love it.
Because he is your son.
Yeah.
He is your son.
Yeah. Let's see what he carries. I just want to state the fact that, the title of the show, it really carries it shows in this season what that means. Anyone could be a Mandalorian. And I talked with my friends how I felt like each, some Mandalorians had their own spotlight, Din, Bo-Katan, Paz, Armor in this season. And it's just, your character is very influential. And I think my favorite moment for Paz was when he gave his speech to follow Din Djarin.
Mm-hmm.
When he's like, because we're Mandalorian, we need to stick together. Yeah, so he just has a very interesting arc, seeing him from season 1 to now, and like just the way he goes out. It was amazing to learn more about him. But so my question is do you have any insider conversations with any executive director, John, Emily, like any just small talks, and then that made you geek out Star Wars, anything like that?
Oh man, well, I mean, like I said, the whole thing, like, Jon Favreau comes to my dressing room to give me a sweatshirt. I'm like, that's dope, right? It's like the first day of filming, we come in and Jon comes up to me and he goes, and he tells me kind of the storyline a little bit. And he goes, and then this is what happens. And there's this hero's death at the end. And so the first day of filming, like I'm privy to all that. And it was just like, okay, well, we're going to wait and we're going to just see how this rolls. And then as it built, like a lot of the stuff, it's cool to see how much it stuck. And I wouldn't know that until I get reactions from the fans back, because you don't know how it's perceived. But it sure felt like that. And giving that speech in there was one of the most special nights of my career. It was fantastic, man. What a treat. What a treat to play in a way that you love, right? In front of directors when the time is real and the consequence is real. It's like, those are special things to put together. And that was a dope time.
Tay, I wanted to ask you, I forgot my question now. I totally forgot.
Come on.
But now you got it now.
Okay.
What's it like working with like Emily, Brandon, and I have to say his name wrong. Lateef, I think.
Lateef. Yeah, Lateef.
Yeah. How is it like working with those? Did you ever work with Pedro? Because I know Pedro is not always on set with you guys.
I've never met Pedro. I've never seen him on the lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So how is it like working with like Emily, Katie, Mercedes, Kiosco Reeves, and those guys, Max Wolves? How's it working with those kind of people?
It's something else, man. Both Mercedes and Simon came in, kind of down the road, and I only worked with them for a few days, right, or a week or something. It was more sparse for us, but they're fantastic. I mean, charming and wonderful and fun, and that's part of being on set. Are you fun and enjoyable to be around? It's a real asset, because if somebody's sour, it's tough. But to be around people of that excellence, like Katie, I'd met because I have a gym in Santa Fe, and Katie used to shoot Longmire, and so I knew Katie from way back in the day. And so we've been friends for a while, and so it's really cool to see her. I mean, on set, and it was dope. And that kind of excellence, And the other thing, Emily's a fantastic stage actor, and so stage actors move a little differently, like behave a little differently than people on film. And to see her bring that kind of operatic presence to the armor versus the transformation is amazing to know. Emily as a human is one of my favorite people in the world, just kind, self-reflective, and giving in almost all of her expressions. Really wonderful. And as the armor, I think a really important figure as a matriarch. The way she carries that and expresses it is great. To be able to be around directors like that, like Deborah Chow and Bryce and John, and hear them all talk about a little scene that's going to be 6 seconds. And they're all talking about how to build tension more in that. And you just get to be privy to these conversations that are questions that are important to these people that you wouldn't think are important because you don't know enough about the subject matter. Like, that's the position that I'm in listening to them. I'm like, I don't even know how important this little snippet is until I'm hearing these people, and that's all they can talk about. And then you're hearing how they suss it out and how they problem solve whatever it is they're coming up against. And that kind of stuff is like being in a master class. When you're around people that excellent, that are that precise, specific, and efficient in their problem solving, I mean, you're around coaching that's second to none. And it's kind of accidental. And it's only if you happen to be aware of it. You could be having that same experience and being like, boy, aren't the lights cool? I mean, or whatever, right? I could miss it easily. And so it's like all those moments like that I'm like, thank God I paid attention, you know. I mean, it just makes me want to pay attention more. It's like that thing about doing the healthy thing for your body. The more I do the healthy thing, the more it begs more healthy things. The more I start getting aware and going, how can I develop myself? How can I learn better ideas? You start looking for that, you know?
You speak so good. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm old. I've been speaking a long time.
like I just want to sit here and just like memorize everything. Like I just want to damn.
Yeah. Thanks. Very influential.
You guys are fun to talk to.
You know, I try. Dude.
Keep trying.
But guys, do we have any more questions for Tait?
I'm just going to grab a coffee. I'm listening. Go ahead.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I got time.
Delaney.
I mean, just how was it to work with Grogu? I mean, was he a diva on set?
Oh my God, I totally forgot that question.
So I think we're all out in the back lot where we, where we filmed. There's the opening scene where, you know, the giant turtle comes up and we have the big battle. So we're there in that environment. And then Grogu's staring in the pond, right? Doing his Grogu thing, cute as shit. Everybody's engaged, whatever. And so me, I think Katie, Emily, you know, Brendan, we're all outstanding human people. And, you know, it's like, look at, like, everybody pays attention to Grogu. Nobody's thinking about anything but Grogu when Grogu is on set. It's like, not a diva, but people are enthralled. Like, it's amazing, you know, and what goes into him is amazing. And the puppeteers, you know, there's like 3 or 4 different puppeteers just to operate his head. And, you know, you think about that. Like, I'm going to just operate the eyes. You're just going to do the mouth. He's going to turn, you do the ears. I mean, and it's like that. And they're talking. That's the kind of communication that is so excellent here too. To be able to be that efficient with your communication, where you're expressing a single face and it's 4 people that are doing it, pretty cool. And so yeah, being around Grogu is dope. I took a couple of pictures of Grogu backstage, but you know, you never know if you're gonna get a hit squad sent to your house if you post something like that.
Oh.
And then you know what else I don't know really? The reason I really didn't is because, you know, part of it is like, here's Grogu, and then here's mechanics of him underneath, right? It's like you're showing him undressed. It seems a little like not very respectful in a way. And also it seems like I don't want to take any goddamn magic away from what this is, because it's as real as it is, you know, and that's cool, you know, and I think that. But yeah, Grogu is great. Great to work with.
We love Grogu.
I have one more question for you, Tait. So, as being a Star Wars fan, what is your most prized possession that you have?
Out of the Star Wars universe?
Yeah, like your number one collection.
Well, a thing that's irreplaceable to me, is you know, there was the time when we started filming Mandalorian, what the surface of the planet would be like, and we're going to film the boat, you know, sailing along this glass surface basically. And that green, kind of crystallized formation, which is our Earth now on Mandalore. And so I got a piece of that I have little pieces of that I have a little thing set up. But that's all I took from set. There's just, you know, buckets of it. And I was like, I'm going to have some of Mandalore.
So cool.
Yeah, that's irreplaceable to me. So it's like the irreplaceable stuff, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Most important.
Now you could say, like, anybody's coming over your house and be like, oh, I have some Mandalore in the back.
Totally.
I was there. So.
I was there.
Well, then my friend, he makes, I've got this plate, and he's like, you need latches on your gates outside. And I go, okay, cool. And he's a steel worker, and he says, I'm going to make some of those. And what? I might make some other stuff, like put leaves on there. So I go, okay, cool. And so he goes and he takes my gates and then brings them back 3 weeks later. And there's a big mythosaur skull out of steel that's carved, that's on it around all these leaves. And then the opening is a 5-foot high Beskar spear, which you squeeze to release the latch and then put the latch back. And that's pretty cool too, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh my! He's like, I'm just gonna do a little something.
Is there something else? I mean, people are magic. People are magic.
Now, Tait, my last question to you is: I know you have your coffee brand out. What is Caveman? What is that? What is the Caveman?
Well, Caveman Coffee came about with kind of a nutrition movement. And so it was kind of this idea, I'd be hashtagging Pirate Life, and I have a podcast called Pirate Life Radio that I got a head injury in 2019, and I kind of stopped doing all of that stuff. I stopped doing everything. I thought I was going to kill myself for sure. And so I was in a bunch of brain clinics and doing a bunch of things to rehab myself during that time. And so before that, though, so Pirate Life already existed in this idea about, when I was a kid, they go, well, you're depressed. We're going to give you some brain medication because you have your balance is off, in your serotonin or whatever. And they say, so you have and I thought, you never measured a test. How do you know that? And I'm a little kid and I'm wondering that. And this is a doctor. And he says, well, if you don't feel good later, you can go ahead and change your medication, And I'm like 15 years old or something. I'm like, I don't understand how you're going to give me another drug after this one doesn't work and it's going to confuse me more. I'm like, I want to be out of this. I don't want any of that. I don't want to think that I'm broken in some way that needs this or that or whatever. And I started looking at like ways that I could look towards increase my mood naturally and what I could do behaviorally to change myself. And maybe I didn't have a imbalance in my head that they just made up and didn't test me about anyway. Maybe it's just part of growing up. I don't know. Maybe it's something I have to contend with forever. But do I want to have pharmaceuticals involved in my life when I see them kill more of my friends than anything else in the world? And so I started thinking that way back then, and I started thinking that way about nutrition. When I was a kid, there was a thing called the food pyramid that was put out by the FDA, and they would teach us in public school about the food pyramid, and it would say, fish and nuts and some meat, and the bottom would be all bread. It would be all high-rich carbohydrate sugars, and it said you should have 9 to 12 of these a day. Well, that was in the 80s, right, when I'm getting that information. By the 90s, everybody has diabetes. That's when it really blows up. And so I start seeing these things. So you push this in national culture. I watch the results later in my life. And so I just start watching cycles like this. And I thought, wow. And then I find out, like, in different countries, Kellogg sells different ingredients in their Pop-Tarts than in America, because other countries won't feed the poison that they put in American Pop-Tarts. And so I start looking into what makes food, and I start looking at what corporatocracy runs America, how our government is bought by the highest bidder in a way. And they'll make laws that reflect that affect me as the populace if I'm uninformed. And so it behooves me to know where my food comes from, to know how I'm nourishing myself, to know what is instead of what the TV told me is. And so that's kind of the nature of what my podcast started out at. And then I would talk to just exceptional people that kind of were after changing their lives. And then, my girl Lacey and my boy Keith I fought with for years out of Jackson's gym, and Lacey, we dated and were athletes together. And so we started Caveman Coffee. We were all in love with coffee and nutrition and wanted to have a fine expressed bean out there that was a single origin cup that our friends in Brazil were making at their farm. And so that's just kind of how it started. And it wasn't even really on purpose. We kind of started a company and then we just started following it up and running it. And then, I used to bodyguard Joe Rogan back in the day, and we've been buddies for, I don't know, since 2004 or something like that. And then I'd be on his show, on his podcast, and he'd blow it up, and it just kind of grew. And so we've been at it for about a decade, I guess. There's a Mando roast out there now. I hear we've got a heavy roast. Maybe it'd be called an immortal roast. I don't know, on the way. And we do nitro cold brew coffees. And so, yeah, Caveman Coffee is the site, and that's kind of how it grew and how it started. And I kind of always wanted to make things that weren't there. It was like the gym. It's like there wasn't that kind of expression of people that wanted to push themselves to their limits. And so I go, well, maybe you make a place that there is. And now 10 years later, it's still running. You know what I mean? And so it's like I just like to see what I can be additive to inside of the noise that's the world. What can you be additive to that's maybe creates a culture or a conversation that is maybe above all that or shows people another thing. Yeah.
You got to send me some.
Right on.
I'm
Love that.
I'm really invested.
We're gonna do our research now.
I really want to drink that coffee.
Right on. Thanks, man.
But
We've got a. If you look at Caveman Coffee Co. at our Instagram right now, you can see that we've got a giveaway too. I'm giving away a Funko Pop, a Paz Vizsla Funko Pop signed. We're doing a random drawing anyway, and I think maybe tomorrow or at the end of the weekend we'll do a drawing. But there's still chances to enter if you'd like, and you just look at the Caveman Coffee Co. site. You can see.
I have my Paz Vizsla. I need you to sign it for me, Tate. I'm gonna have to send it to you.
Yeah,
Definitely
well, you'll see me soon enough, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I'll probably see you. You better go back to Rhode Island.
I'll be in Fort Myers next week.
No, I'm in Jersey though. I'm in Jersey.
What is
Well, you
that?
gotta go
$60 in
to
a plane?
If you do New York Comic Con, I'm there. I'll see you there.
If they ask me, I'll go. You know.
But Tate, I just want to thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and just like I don't even know what to say because you're just so talented and so wisdomous. It's incredible. Like I sat here and like I don't cry because save your tears for the pillow. But sometimes when you were saying, yeah, you tear up sometimes. Like I feel what you feel, you know. And I just want to thank you so much. Just being you, even in Rhode Island when you sat with me for like 4 or 5 minutes, how long we ever filmed for it. It was. I even said to my buddy that was filming Brian, and me and Brian, I filmed a lot of people that day.
He is so funny. He was great, man.
Like we sat there and like I think we left or we were going back home, and we were like, oh, so like what was the best one we filmed? And we both said you, and we were just like he was just the realest of them all. Like he sat there, he took the time, and I was like, and just how you speak and how you word things, it's just like like I'm gonna say the word again, wisdomous. And I thank you so much for even taking the 5 minutes, because not everybody there took the time. Like everybody there, but some people were like, nah, I don't want to be filmed. But you took the time and took the picture. And I just thank you for playing this character. You know, I wish he didn't have to go this way, but I hope we see you again somewhere else on films. You know, I'll be there supporting you no matter what. So thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It's been a pleasure for sure.
I might cry now. No.
That's
Yeah,
good.
this is fun. This is like my first interview.
You know what? One of my mentors, he says this to me when I cry. Like I was like, man, I just sobbed all morning. And he goes, you know, tears like that are the purest form of prayer. And I thought that's kind of nice. You know, this pure expression when you're not worried, you're not self-conscious, you're not any of that, right? You're just hearing this release. It's a special thing, man. That ain't nothing to be sorry about.
But before we go, where can everybody find you on social medias, Tate? Where can everybody find you?
Easy to find. Just my name, Tait Fletcher. My company, Caveman Coffee. I don't go on Facebook a whole lot, but I transfer stories there, I guess, I think. I probably ought to do that. But yeah, just at my name at Instagram, at Twitter is all the same kind of stuff. Yeah. And I hope I see you all at a con sometime soon.
Don't worry, I'll meet you again.
Right on.
But before we go, guys, make sure you guys subscribe down below to the YouTube channel. I'll put everybody's links, everybody's handles, everything in the link in the bio. Tate, once again, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate
Thank you guys so much, man. Be well, be beautiful to each other, and we'll talk around the bend sometime.
Yes.
All right.
Guys, be kind to one another, and may the force be with you, my friends, always. Bye.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
The way.
In my life, when you find people who need your help, you help them, no matter what.